I was super frustrated with how I had to do all the thinking through it and line it all up at what felt like spoon feed every point. I felt like you were leaning on me too much for what I would call thought labor. It can get sort of easy to resent or to get upset or to feel like it's unfair until we take an accounting and go, what are the things that other people are providing in my behalf that I'm not seeing? And where do you ask other people to fill in the blanks for you?
Hi, welcome back to the Personality Hacker Podcast. I'm Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge. And I'm going to reveal something that just happened.
Okay.
So we were recording a podcast.
Yeah.
And, well, first of all, maddeningly, it didn't end up. Well, my camera stopped recording midway and we didn't notice it.
Yes.
So it didn't end up getting captured.
Yeah.
But in some ways that might not be the worst thing because the conversation ended up being kind of frustrating for me. So it's probably best. Maybe the universe, like the universe had our back.
We don't have to say what that conversation was.
We don't have to.
Talk about it.
That's right. We don't have to discuss what the subject of it was.
And by the way, I didn't know it was getting frustrated for you until the camera failed. And you went, I'm frustrated. I'm like, you are? What? Sorry, I thought I was showing up well.
I was like, it's divine intervention that it stopped. But here's what I do want to reference. I don't want to talk about what we talked about or the subject or whatever. But the reason I was frustrated is because I felt like you were leaning on me too much for what I would call thought labor, meaning that every time I asserted a point,
Yeah.
you challenged me, and my experience was that you made me spend like 10 to 15 minutes rationalizing, or at least giving reasons for my point. And I kept trying to, like the way that my brain works is that I say a thing and I establish a point in order actually to get to the next point. Yeah. It's almost like you have to know this in order to know this. So I would lay down a track expecting to hop over to my next point, and that was the satisfying thing that I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But I could never get to the satisfying moment when I had laid this track, because as soon as I laid this track, you're like, well, how do you know that to be true? And what do you think that is? And then I would have to like spend all this time filleting out, like securing my position. And I could never get to the actual real point in my mind. And I was like, well, if you just let me say the next thing, right? And when we got done, I was just, actually when my camera crapped out, and I was like, oh, we actually don't get to have that podcast. There was a part of me, of course, that was sort of relieved. But as I was sitting here and you were setting up for the actual podcast that we'll be doing this week, which fingers crossed all of the equipment will be with us this time.
It will be. Have faith, Antonia.
That's right. Well, it's only going to crap out once. It won't crap out twice, right? Where's the wood? Knock on it. I was thinking, I make him do so much emotional labor for me.
Yeah.
That's actually how I got into a good space between the podcasts as you were setting up the tech and making sure that it was going to work this time, is I was like, okay, I was really frustrated with how much thought labor he just required. I was super frustrated with how I had to pick apart every point and do all the thinking through it and line it all up and what felt like spoon feed every point. But I was sitting here going, yeah, but he does the same thing for me in emotional labor. So what I think we should discuss on this podcast, other than just revealing the fact that we had a very annoying experience, is where do people ask you to do extra labor in their behalf based on your type preferences, based on you just showing up as who you are? And where do you ask other people to fill in the blanks for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember hearing about this idea of emotional labor a few years ago for the first time. And how I heard about it was people that were working in like an office environment or at a job where there were extra things that made everything work better, right? Like maybe, getting the birthday card for the coworkers, or smiling a lot for people that are visiting the office, or just kind of adding in extra things, or somebody's having a hard day and helping them feel better about it. And people are couching this as like, this is emotional labor. There's things that I'm doing at my job I'm not getting compensated for. I'm having to do this above and beyond because it's kind of unspoken required of me. So I'm doing it, but I don't feel good about it. I feel like people are taking advantage of that. They know I'm emotionally responsive and want to help. And so they're often setting up conditions. They don't even know I'm doing this half the time. They don't recognize it, compensate it. They don't have no gratitude for it. And here I find myself doing this, people would report. And I feel like I'm doing this emotional labor with no recognition or gratitude. I'm kind of sick of it. I'm tired of this. And I remember having a conversation with you, and you kind of went, well, I mean, I have to do thought labor for a lot of people all the time. Why is emotional labor why should those people be given any kind of, like, you weren't being mean about it. You're like, well, yeah, we all have to do labor for each other. Like,
right. Why
is emotional labor the one that people are upset about? Like, I have to do thought labor for people all the time. And all of us have a version of this. Yeah. And I kind of was like, oh yeah, I guess that is a true point. Like, we're doing things on everybody's behalf. Even emotional labor isn't all the same. If I was to help somebody with emotional labor, it might be different than like my friend Jonathan, who has EFJ preferences, right? He's going to do it much more with a harmony, extroverted feeling. I'm more introverted feeling, authenticity. So my emotional labor is going to be a little bit different.
No, I think we do. And I think that's yet another angle of how type is helpful, is that it helps us realize why we lean heavily on some rather than others for certain tasks and extra labor. But it also helps us remember that we're not the only ones who are doing it. Other people are doing it in our behalf. Now, I think when it gets, to speak to the emotional labor piece, I think when it gets dicey when there is an assumption based on your demographics,
yes,
that there's certain kind of labor or certain kind of services you'll be performing. Like, take for example, as a woman, there is an assumption that all women have feeling preferences, or at least should be doing feeling skills and roles.
Yes.
And so if you're a woman and the office emotional labor is falling on your lap, and you happen to say be an INTJ, right? And you're like, yeah, this is not really a thing that I do. And so I'm going to try to pin on a smile for you, but it's going to get real, exhausting real fast. And so I think that is definitely something that needs to be acknowledged as well.
There's a scene in Mad Men when he brings the main dude in Mad Men, Don Draper, brings his kids to the office because he's going through like a bad time with his wife. And he just expects his like secretary to like watch his kids for him, or like the women in the office to watch his children.
Right.
Like that's what women do, right? And he just like assumes that they're going to do this emotional labor. To your point, there's a gendering aspect to this often.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely better than the 60s, but I still think there is sort of an assumption. And I'm sure that there's a version going the other direction for men. It's not just women who deal with expectations of, services and labor that some men just, they also have an expectation that is hard for them to, to always follow through on. But as a general rule, I think all of us are providing a service, and that people start to lean on us for it. And it can get sort of easy to resent or to get upset or to feel like it's unfair until we take an accounting and go, what are the things that other people are providing in my behalf?
Yeah.
That I'm not seeing, right? That are just kind of, and usually one of the reasons why we don't see it is because we don't value it. If we don't see it as something, even if we're benefiting from it, if we tend to marginalize it, then we're not going to have the, commensurate amount of gratitude for people stepping up.
So do you want to talk about how we assume other people will show up, or do you want to talk about how we expect them to show up, or do you want to talk about how they do show up? How do you want to take this conversation?
I don't know. I'm going to go wherever direction you want to go, actually, or wherever it emerges. Remember, this is a whole new world for me in this podcast because I don't have notes.
Yeah. So we've got this concept of thought labor and emotional labor. I was thinking in terms of one thing. The expectations that are put upon us helped me index a couple things. One is as a dude, almost every time I show up to something and there's like something heavy to lift, like it's assumed that the man is going to do the heavy lifting, or like, my dad is not going to turn to you and be like, hey, help me lift this furniture. He's going to look at me and be like, help me lift this furniture. Right. It's just kind of like an assumption that people make.
Yeah.
So there's physical labor then that we do for each other.
Yeah.
So there's emotional, mental, physical. What else would we label here as far as
like the intuitive piece?
I guess would there be intuitive labor?
I
Could
mean,
we
I'm
bring it
sure
down to
of
like the
it.
4 functions basically?
Well, yeah, I mean, don't we do that with everything? So why
Sure.
not this?
So physical could be tied to the sensory then.
Well, a very specific kind of sensing, right? I mean, I think that there's variations on this, and we could probably. I mean, I have done 0% thinking on this until just this moment. So this will be kind of made up on the fly. But I think that I think there's clear patterns in here, and sensing isn't just lifting things. I think sensing is also leaning on somebody to be responsible.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how often have I leaned on somebody to be responsible in my behalf? Right?
Yes.
Especially introverted sensing inferior, especially when I was younger. Before I started integrating the function, I definitely leaned on other people to be, keep my time for me and make sure I showed up for things, right?
Yes.
Give me a call when I'm supposed to leave, or I've leaned on you to, sort of make sure that the bills are paid every month. Like, that's a thing that I just lean on you for. I think that's also probably some extroverted thinking as well. So, not that I can't pay my own bills, but I definitely just don't. I just go, hey, you like to do this, right? And so I give it to you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I mean,
I see the love, Antonia. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, seriously. But there's also things that go the other direction. I mean, like, when was the last time you did a load of laundry, right? So,
Hey now.
yeah.
It's a little too close to home.
Well, maybe like,
Are you doing laundry labor?
was it even in the teens, right? In the 20 teens?
Come on, it's had to have been at least in the last 5 years.
Maybe.
At least since 2020.
I'm not sure. So there are definitely, and we do that as a couple because there are certain tasks that are more in our wheelhouse, and we don't mind. I guess I would say when it comes to you paying bills and me doing laundry, we kind of don't mind doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas if we were doing the opposite, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to pay bills. And you'd probably be like, oh, I don't want to do laundry. So I think there is a bit of that, who hates it less.
Sure.
But I also think that there's we're going to go to intuitive, right? Sorry, I'm already philosophizing. So what would intuitive labor look like? I would say probably keeping, holding a vision and keeping people inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a lift,
Or helping people make sense of meanings that maybe feel conspiratorial and really like spiraling. It's like, well, no, it's not as crazy as you think it is. It's just a pattern and here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can think about it much more like this.
Yeah. Well, there are what friend do you go to when you can't figure out what to do with your life?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you can't figure out a plan and you're not sure what you're having an existential crisis. Who's the person you go to? You probably are finding an intuitive friend that's not going to see this as a heavy lift.
So if you were one of these people on your side, so when I read this, somebody was very triggered and upset that they were doing this emotional labor. They wanted to change. They were frustrated by it. Would you say that's the channel you would be the most frustrated on? Especially as a thinker woman, mm-hmm. the assumption is you're going to want to be all the touchy-feely feeler things that we project onto the entire gender of womanhood as a society, often. So do you almost feel like, wait a minute, why am I the one that's got to do the emotional lift? Or does that affect you? Or do you think when I did that to you in the last episode where I was making you do a little heavy lifting in the cognition, was that the thing that's frustrating? Like, if you had to identify what's personally frustrating to you mm-hmm. when it's put upon you, which of these 4 would you say is the most frustrating to you? Personally,
I would say that the most frustrating to me is the emotional, or actually anything that would be in the realm of extroverted feeling or harmony if I don't get gratitude. I think, and I don't think that's just because it's a 10-year-old or tertiary function. I think extroverted feeling just really needs to be recognized.
Yeah.
I think it needs gratitude.
Yeah.
And it can go for a long time. The higher up it is, the more preferred it is, the longer it can go without being recognized.
Yeah.
But there's a law of diminishing returns for extroverted feeling, no matter which type you are that is using it as one of your first 4 functions.
Yeah.
If you don't get gratitude for the stuff you're doing, eventually you will just get there's like a moment when willingness turns to resentment. And I think it takes a seasoned extroverted feeling user, whether they're an FJ or a TP, to notice when that moment is coming up. Mm-hmm. And another word we could call it is a boundary. It's really easy to just have that boundary opened up.
Well,
just kind of go by without you even realizing it, and suddenly you're in resentment land.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes specifically to extroverted feeling, the biggest challenge isn't just the function or the function position. It's that it actually, you could even say it needs crumbs of gratitude. Very little goes a long way. And and I would say that the person who wrote that article was either somebody who used extroverted feeling and felt like it was never being acknowledged, or they were not an extroverted feeling user, and yet they were expected to do it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So by the way, I want to recognize the person before I talk about maybe my frustration. If you're listening or watching right now, I want to get you part of this conversation. Under the comments, either on our website or YouTube or wherever you're watching or listening to this, just let us know which one of those four would be the most frustrating to you. Emotional labor, physical or tracking labor, the sensory kind of labor, the emotional or feeling-based labor, the thinking or cognitive-based, or the intuitive or abstract, even spiritual labor, you could call it. Mm-hmm. Which one of those would be the most frustrating if people project that onto you or expect that of you when maybe you're not as equipped for it?
Yeah. Okay. So remember when I said, I'll just let this conversation emerge? Actually, there's two different directions that have popped up for me that we can address. The first one is it would probably be good to have examples, because everybody's always asking me for examples, and actually I'm starting to think of examples of how each of the 8 functions might show up in terms of labor.
Yeah.
And the other one is to go back to the conversation you just asked, which is worse? Like, and why is it worse? And I think so the two extroverted judging functions, so that would be extroverted feeling harmony and extroverted thinking effectiveness. Mm-hmm. Extroverted feeling harmony is the function preferred by FJs and TPs, right? And somewhere in their car model.
Well, it's not preferred by TPs, but it comes along with their other preferences.
Correct. Well, I didn't want to use the phrase egosyntonic because it's too complicated, but basically in their car model. It's like a function in their car model.
They're aware of it.
Right. It's part of their ego. It's part of how they see themselves as in relationship to it.
Yeah.
And then extroverted thinking or effectiveness is one of the first 4 functions, or in the car model for TJs and FPs in the Myers-Briggs system. And I think for FJs and TPs, they just need a little gratitude, right? What they're looking for is connection and trust and rapport and like the energy going back and forth. So if they give willingly, they need a little ping back.
Well, they want to know that this channel's two-way. Mm-hmm. Like, I just want to know that the channel I'm sending and receiving on goes both ways. Mm-hmm. They would even probably stack it in the other person's favor often.
Yeah.
But they just want to know there's something coming back.
Something coming back.
Some value exchange back, or some, relational experience there.
Yeah. Rapport, as in like defining rapport as I'm sending you energy and you're sending energy back. But rapport is not just a monolith. There's rapport that we build in multiple different channels, little discrete channels. Mm-hmm. And so if I sent you energy on a specific channel, I need the ping back of your energy returning to me in that channel. So it could be something like, hey, I just did laundry for you. And you go, hey, thanks for doing laundry. So the ping back isn't, and also I think you're super sexy. It's like, yeah, but that's not the channel I was sending at that moment. I was sending on the laundry channel. I was sending on the acts of service channel. Mm-hmm. So I need you to recognize and send it back. And so there's like, I just humanized you in this way, and then you humanized me through recognition.
But the thing that the FJ wants is that dynamic.
Correct.
That's the value is we're in connection. Mm-hmm. We've created a little entity between us.
Yes.
And if the information or if energy is passing back and forth, that speaks to that little entity I created with you, that little relationship I have.
Yes.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
And that shows that that's not just about you. It's not just about me. It's about us.
Yes.
And that's valuable.
Correct.
For some of his FJ preferences.
Yeah. I think the commensurate version for extroverted thinking or effectiveness, the other extroverted judging or decision-making function, is ROI of some sort, value exchange. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, like, I don't think gratitude is usually enough. I think on that channel, there needs to be, like, there needs to be some form of resource value exchange. So it doesn't have to necessarily be money, but it could be like every time I see a character in a movie call in a favor, right? I'm like, that's a very extroverted thinking thing, right? I'm going to call in a favor, right? It's like, I know that I've given you, and so I know at some point in the future, you'll give back, right?
Yes.
So on some level, it could be favor, but it could also be like, I had your back in energy. I took care of something for you, and you take care of something for me.
And unlike extroverted feeling or harmony, which is it's more in real time, this can be invoiced. In other words, metaphorically speaking.
Right.
In other words, I can give to you, and that can sit dormant for 3 years until I call that favor in. It doesn't have to be like the pinging back and forth as much. I can leave the deposit in your account, quote unquote. Hey, it's time to now return the favor. And there can be a lot of hurt when it's not, when the call comes for the return and it's not returned because the accounting has been forgotten.
Yeah.
There can be hard feelings from extroverted thinking effectiveness people.
Correct. Yeah. If there's
Deep
never,
hurt.
that's right. That's when the person feels used.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not to say that there's not like an emotional component for it too, because there's a little introverted feeling in there. So there's like personal desire. But if you are giving to somebody and they, like, you kind of realize that they're like a black hole and there's just never going to be any sort of, value exchange, pretty soon you're like, why do I keep giving? Like, you're going to cut that. It's going to be a bad bet, right? It's going to be a bad use of your time and resources. And so for extroverted thinking, it's more like, I recognize what you're doing. In fact, the article, if I remember correctly, the one that you're referring to was also saying like, and we should get paid for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that sounds like somebody who's an extroverted thinking user who is expected to do extroverted feeling work. And so she's like, okay, I'll do it, but if you pay me, right? And that's that channel, right? But it doesn't always have to be money. It can just be at anything that's a value exchange.
Yeah.
I gave you life force, so I'm going to need something in return for the life force, right? Something that feels like it's, it makes sense, right? It's a fair value exchange. And so that's a little bit more, that's more open, right? Extroverted feeling is specifically looking for the connection between two people, right?
Yeah.
They're looking for a very specific kind of, gratitude or love or appreciation or desire to spend time together. It's very relational. For extroverted thinking, it can kind of be a whole host of things. Usually the favorite is that I gave you life force and time. So anything that represents time back usually works. And money represents time.
Yeah.
So I think that's why money ends up being the default. But it's like, I gave you life force and time, and I would like life force and time back. Usually that's generally the channel. But life force and time is a little bit more, there's some wiggle room in how to define that.
Yeah.
I guess there's some wiggle room in how to define connection. It could be like going on a date or hanging out together,
Fighting.
or sometimes fighting.
Argument creates connection.
Yeah.
In a way,
Well,
I mean, you're connected to argue.
that's not what you're looking for,
No.
right? But that's one of the reasons why
Some people take it.
not giving back can lead to a fight. Because it's
Yeah.
like, well, if you're not going to give connection willingly, I'll force it
Yeah.
through fighting. And now we're in rapport. It's negative rapport, but now we're in rapport. So, So I think those two functions have very obvious transactional components. And so it's easier to kind of see, okay, I'm giving on this channel, so I'm looking for the channel back. I think the introverted judging functions are a little bit less obvious, right? And how they give is usually more subtle. Mm-hmm. And that's why I said, well, I do thought labor for people all the time. Meaning that somebody will ask me a question and I'll break it down. I'll do I'll run the calculus of all the thinking I've done around it, and then I'll do some thinking in front of them, and then I'll spit out the result.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, well, how do you give back to that? Right. How do you give back?
Hire you as a coach. I mean, that's literally how somebody could give back to that.
Yeah. And I would say actually, generally it's in a way, it's just recognition. Mm-hmm. Almost always I'm just looking for I'm looking for something where a person will go, oh, wow, thank you, right? They'll acknowledge it. Probably my little extroverted feeling is looking for that. But the other one is if the person gives me truth and honesty. Does that make sense? Like, I will feel very honored when I share that kind of thing with another person if they'll hold space for whatever I said. They won't get offended by all the things I said. I would say that I feel the most dishonored in my introverted thinking when I do a bunch of thought labor for somebody and they get offended by it, right? Or I didn't say something in a way that, like I said something that might have been true, but it struck them in a way that they didn't like. And so they wouldn't receive it.
Is that more painful than being dismissed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, personally, but I also see I'm not a good person to ask on this one because I don't get dismissed very often. Or when I do get dismissed,
Well, you don't know it when you're dismissed. Like somebody's listening to this right now, they just heard you say stuff. They're like, yeah, I don't like this lady. And they just
I don't care about
like,
that.
You don't maybe know when you're being dismissed, but.
Well, I also, that's a very easy thing to stop. Like I'm not pouring into that individual.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Like I'm not giving a lot to the person who dismissed me. So the transaction is over, right? The labor is done because the person is not asking for more. But if a person is asking for thought labor, they're asking me for breaking down a situation and then they get offended. Ooh, that's like painful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have one for introverted feeling or authenticity?
Well, certainly when somebody questions my intent, I mean, if I'm doing a lot of like labor to help them map what's going on for somebody or motivations, and then they say that I might have bad intent for what I'm doing or anything like that. I mean, immediately it's kind of like, somebody getting mad at your logic, somebody getting mad at my intent would be difficult. I think that's the first thing that came up to me.
I have an example of that, by the way.
Yeah.
Of me watching that happen.
Let's say it.
Yeah. So you pour a lot of your introverted feeling into marketing.
Yeah.
Because you believe in personality hacker, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a product; it's also a mission, and you pour a lot of yourself into it, and you try to deeply, like you do a lot of like trying to figure out the tone you have to communicate in, and like you do, there's a lot of performance in there, but that's an introverted feeling thing as well. And we were in a business meeting one time with a colleague, and you were talking about a way that you wanted to go about doing some marketing in their behalf, right?
I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, I know the story.
Right. And they said, well, that's just evil. And I remember thinking, that's not evil. Like my brain immediately went like, what Joel is suggesting is not evil. Now, it might make you uncomfortable because, as our mentor Eben Pagan says, all marketing is an ethical dilemma, right? So it does create ethical dilemmas. You have to get attention. You have to do things to get attention. You have to make it so that the person is willing to take into consideration what you're offering. Then you have to make the offer. Like there's a lot of steps here, and it's not always it's not always the perfect, pristine, ethical situation where you're like, I don't know, like this is the thing it is, and so if you want it, right? Like you can't do that, otherwise you will sell negative things, right? Yeah. So you were talking about how to like position it, and it made them uncomfortable, probably because they're the kind of person who wants to sell without getting a lot of attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so you were like kind of like recommending they put themselves out there a little bit more. And the way you said it, that they accused you of being evil in it. And immediately I almost like, it was like I saw them just like slap the FI out of your hand. Yeah. And I'm like, your intent was bad. And you were like trying to market them in their behalf using your own life force, and they just smacked it out of your hand. I was like, yeah, that would be, I just immediately knew that was like a bad moment for you.
Yeah, that actually, that's a good example of that a lot. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's deeply like, come on, man, I'm trying to do this on somebody else's behalf, especially if you're, I think that labor thing is, it's real. It's a little bit harder to identify when if it's an introverted part of me, authenticity, introverted feeling. I don't know if you feel maybe your thought labor is a little more clear to you. It's hard to know when I'm activating this on somebody else's behalf. Because again, it's very self-referencing too for me. Like I know how you feel, Antonia, when I check in with how I would feel if I were you in that situation. I don't actually know how you really feel. I approximate it by centering back onto myself. And then centering onto myself going, ooh, that would feel bad. I bet that other person feels bad too. Or that would feel good. I bet that other person would feel good too. It's kind of a speculation based on all my experiences in life and the emotional resonance they've had.
Yeah.
And so I'm limited based on that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't know when I'm doing it. It's a little harder to define. I think the extroverted, like probably somebody that's doing emotional labor in an extroverted feeling or harmony way is probably registering that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it's more obvious. You're literally smiling at somebody. You're literally watching the kid that your boss just dropped off at your desk. It's not your job to do, or whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah. Or taking something to somebody, or doing an act of service or whatever. Yeah. Just what you said though, which is approximating how somebody else feels, like that act of sympathy. Yeah. By understanding how you would feel and then recognize that's probably how they feel. That's all that, I mean, I would define that as introverted feeling labor. all
Yeah.
by itself. That's laborious, right? There's work that goes into that. Not just going like, oh, this is how I feel, so they must as well. But, in the same way that introverted thinking is not labor when you default to the first thought you had. You're like, well, this is what I think. That's not labor. Labor is, okay, this is my first thought, but is that true?
Yeah.
And then you like go down and do the math and you clean slice it and you try to remove your biases and you figure out all the ways in which you steel man the other side and that's the labor. Coming up with a thought is not laborious. Like most people believe everything they think. That's easy. Really flaying it out, going deep, getting to the underbelly of it and looking for the deepest truth. That's labor. And so for introverted feeling, or authenticity, simply going with like, oh, you must feel this way, right? Or I feel this way. That's not labor. Just like everybody believes everything they think, they believe everything they feel too. But taking a pause and going like, actually, is that my deepest feeling?
Yeah.
Right? Is that person's deepest feeling? And then whatever it is that introverted feeling does. I don't know. It's
magic, Antonia. It's just all magic in there.
I mean, I know it's work in there. I don't know exactly how it looks, but
it's all magical smoke and mirrors. I don't know.
I mean, you could take this opportunity to explain it, but
oh, you want me to actually say something? Well, again, I think you're definitely tuning in. Like, I can think of an example of this in the positive. So I think I've said this on the podcast. So I'll say it really fast. It was during COVID, during the lockdowns and stuff, and so everybody's short staffed. We go to it was like a fast food burger place, and they're short staffed, and the person we were with is frustrated by this, and they wanted to gridlock and make it difficult on the people working at the place to signal to the organization, the company, that they don't have enough people and that it's not operating correctly. And so they're trying to basically gridlock the system to make this very clear. And
teach them a lesson.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, these kids that came in here, because they're all kids, they're all younger people, working during COVID, wearing their mask, trying to do their best. These are the people that actually showed up today. Mm-hmm. And they're short-staffed probably because a bunch of people, just are doing whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're short-staffed. These are the hard workers. These are the people that got up out of bed and actually got themselves here today and are working hard on your behalf. And I reflected this back to this person. I'm like, it'd be really rude to try to gridlock the system. The company headquarters isn't going to feel crap. It's going to be all these kids here. They're going to feel the pain of causing the system to be to try to make it harder on them.
Yeah,
they're just going to suffer, and they're the ones doing right action. Mm-hmm. They're the kids that actually are trying to do the best they can. It's all the kids at home in bed right now that you should actually be, or just screwing around or whatever. That's the problem.
Using COVID as a cover to call in.
Yeah. So why would you punish these kids that are trying to do the right thing? Yeah, the company's not going to feel it at all. And certainly the kids that didn't come in, you're actually punishing right action. Mm-hmm. And the person didn't really say it at all. They didn't like, oh, you're so right. But immediately they just like, I could see them get real quiet, real centered, and then immediately the behavior changed. So I'm like, okay, winning there.
Yeah.
But that's an example, I think, of introverted feeling, doing some emotional labor on behalf of these kids to think, what would that experience be if I was them?
Yeah.
I just had to put myself in their shoes thinking, I can almost imagine myself showing up, me and 3 other people, and all the people that aren't here being frustrated. And then all of a sudden the customers are acting out at me too. I'm like, screw this.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, that's how it would feel. I wouldn't want to feel like that. So I'm sure these people don't want to feel like that either.
Right.
And that's how introverted feelings mapping this to the experience.
And the most available feeling might be frustration. That's the most available feeling. Frustrated that it's going slow, frustrated you're not getting your food fast.
You mean for the customer?
Yeah,
of course. I'm sure these guys are frustrated too, though.
Yeah, that's the most available. But there's something that lives underneath, and it's taking a moment and pausing.
Yes.
And really getting into the experience of the person. That's the labor.
So it's not just about my emotion. It's also about the entire system and all the emotions that are happening. And these people over here are having their experience too. They're probably just as frustrated as I am that it's slow and difficult.
Yep.
I bet we're all in this same emotion together.
Yep.
That's kind of how I felt. And I was like, I think that's probably what's going on. Yeah. Everyone's frustrated in this.
And standing up for them. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's probably an example of it.
Yeah.
Doing that labor on behalf. I'm not like patting myself on the back. I'm just trying to give an example of like.
I think you should pat yourself
doing
on the
good
back.
things for people.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's there's like conviction. Conviction isn't automatically an example of introverted feeling or authenticity labor because.
There's other times I didn't care at all about a person's experience. I just bulldoze over them and I'm like, whatever, that's their problem.
Right. And you weren't doing labor then. Yeah. Right? But what I'm saying is that
Sorry, maybe I didn't understand your point.
I don't think you do because I haven't completed the thought. So conviction isn't always an example of labor because sometimes conviction is something that gets us off. Does that make sense? Like on an introverted feeling level. Introverted thinking, just having an opinion and just thinking you're right is the same example, right? Like just being opinionated and being like, I'm smart and I've thought this through, right? I've done a bunch of research and now I'm going to tell you how it works.
Yeah.
That's not an example of a bunch of labor because there was intrinsic reward for the person. And so they already got their return on investment. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So those things aren't always an example of labor, but when conviction comes on the heels of deep inner alignment, having to sit with the self, having to figure out what is true and not true for the self, having like conviction emerging from alignment, coming from the labor of ensuring that you're not just going along with some sort of, social fad, but you're like really sitting with the self and really determining what like the deepest self feels about this and then becoming inspired to stand up in behalf of. Does that make sense? Like there's conviction where we're all in this together and we all get to feel like we're super important and we're all fighting a good cause. And then there's the conviction that comes from like going, from basically being the reluctant hero and going, I can't unsee this and now I have to do something about it. Yeah. And the latter is more the introverted feeling labor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In the same way where for introverted thinking, just needing to be right on something and knowing a lot of information and setting everybody straight and letting them know how wrong they are. That's not introverted thinking labor. It's going, I can't unsee, like this is the truth. And even if it's inconvenient and even if everybody else will fight against it, this is the deepest truth and I can't unsee it. So I'm going to have to be a champion for this truth. Yeah. Right. And that's where the labor comes in. Does that track?
Yeah. How I interpret what you say is I would say careful thought is quiet and careful conviction is starts with the self. It's also quiet. It's like it's personal. In other words, let's say I'm convicted about climate change. If I just never fly in an airplane, a jet, and I drive an electric vehicle that I built with my own hands, and I've got solar on my house, and I never pick up a megaphone to rail against whatever, that's conviction. I'm living a convicted life towards something. Right. Probably more so than a lot of people are picking up that megaphone doing it for other reasons. They don't know, they're not actually living in congruence with the thing they say they're convicted about. They're just blustering.
Correct. Right.
And so I think conviction is often quiet. It's more subdued. It's more just about getting on with it than it is about proclaiming something. Although it can be proclaiming.
It can be.
But most people aren't actually convicted at that level. They're just blustering and they're covering something else over. Well, it's not real for them because they're not living in congruence, right?
I would say if like say a topic like climate change or whatever is the thing the person's convicted by, it's not because they like took a class in college. Sure. And a bunch of people said this was important. Yeah. It was something that like they like sat with themselves and I know there were, take something like veganism. Yeah. Right. I know quite a few people who have introverted feeling as one of their first four functions that were basically like that was really important to them. Yeah. But it wasn't, the old joke used to be like 10 or 15 years ago. It's like, how do you know somebody's vegan? They'll let you know in the first 5 minutes. Yeah. It was like, they weren't one of those people. They were just somebody who had sat with themselves and felt like it was wrong to use animal products. Yeah. And that was fully in alignment with them. And it wasn't something that they were signaling to anybody else. But when asked about it, they would say it's important to them. So yeah. And they could have become somebody who was a spokesperson for it very easily. But it's like, it's not, I'm just basically saying it's not faddish. It's like honest. It's true. It's sincere. It's to the marrow of your bones. Yeah. Not something where you're just, like you're aligning yourself with a certain kind of person and this kind of person feels this way. It's like, it doesn't matter what kind of person this is coming from within.
And it's not monolith. Correct. I think that's the other thing too. Like I look at somebody like Greta Thunberg and I think in terms of mostly she's performative. Like she stages her own arrests to be a performance. Right. She's like, she doesn't even stay on topic. She's like climate change, and now she's on to other issues. Like she's not even one note. So I look at that, and it'd be easy to dismiss her. And sometimes I do, like, because she's kind of silly in a lot of those ways. But then I think, well, actually, there's some congruence there. Like she's convicted to the point where she won't get on a jet airplane. And so that can't be dismissed.
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes to conviction, it's what can't be dismissed. Because I don't dismiss her there. If she actually really doesn't get on an airplane, I'm like, actually, okay, you actually believe what you say now.
Yeah.
Unlike some of these other climate people who jump on private planes all the time. I'm like, come on, dude.
All right, whatever.
This is about taxes and control. This isn't about climate, is it?
Right.
But for her, it might actually be about climate because she's willing to put money where her mouth is and not do a behavior that's deeply inconvenient. You know how hard it is not to get on an airplane and want to travel?
Yeah.
Take a freaking boat across the Atlantic to America or like wherever you're going. Like that's really difficult to do.
Yeah.
So I have to admire that and go, okay, there's some conviction and congruence with her, even if I could dismiss other behavior. So it's not all just one note. Like some parts of us might be laboring and be blustering and it's easy to dismiss, but other parts are more congruent and more real.
Okay, so back to the labor conversation.
Yes.
Which is when a person shows up with the introverted judging functions to do labor in behalf of other people, I would say that it's not that they're necessarily looking for something as an exchange. Like the extroverted judging functions are usually looking for a ping back of some kind. They're looking for, the energies to be sent out in return. I think for the introverted judging functions, the labor that we do is it's usually sharing from ourself, and we're just looking to not be punished for it or have ill intent projected onto us or have, do you know what I mean? Or be like with my introverted thinking, when I share my thought labor and somebody is offended, like that is deeply wounding to me. It's like, and I just go, oh, you're not a person I will ever share thoughts with. And I actually, like, as much thought labor as I'll do, like on the podcast, there are many, many, many like roads I've gone down and issues I've thought about that I've done an extensive amount of, thought labor around. And I just go, I mean, if I was going to communicate this, I would have to be so impenetrable in all of my logic and all of my statements and all of my phrases, because the zeitgeist just doesn't like this thought. It just doesn't want it. It will do everything it can to attack. And so, so some thought labor is just me for mine, So anyway,
so that's the just to bring us to where we're at. We talked about both extroverted judging functions, feeling and thinking. So effectiveness, extroverted thinking, harmony, extroverted feeling. Both those are covered. Then we just talked about both introverted judging functions, introverted thinking accuracy, introverted feeling authenticity. So we've talked about thinking and feeling both in its outward and inward expressed way, both attitudes. Yeah. And those are how we make decisions and judge. Now there's 4 other cognitive functions, Jungian cognitive functions, that are all about perception. And I actually don't know. I mean, we talked about sensing labor earlier with like lifting something heavy or tracking something or being able to tune to a timeline. Yeah. I mean, that's perception. We're not really making a judgment call on anything, but there's labor, I guess, that goes into perception of what we look at and how we refine it, how we see it, what we pay attention to. Yeah. Both those examples, I guess, I mean, the lifting heavy isn't really.
Well, I think
it's sensory activity, but it's not like it's a decision I'm making to lift something heavy.
Yeah. Well, and I think we were also talking about like what's expected for men and women in that part of the conversation too. I would say that I have not applied like a ton of thought labor onto this one, but I will tell you the pattern that's coming up for me. And that is for introverted sensing or memory, for those that's a function that's in the car model for SJ and NP types. But I would say particularly SJ types are going to see this. It's the, I have to be the responsible one. Like I almost think about the person who
responsibility labor, the older brother energy.
Yeah, like the person who stays home and somebody else gets to go out and party, right? Like I have to hold down the fort and you get to go do whatever you want to.
The metaphorical designated driver, in a way. Like I can't drink because I have to be the designated driver tonight. Like not literally, but also maybe literally. But that's the role you end up in. Yeah. A lot.
Yeah, I would imagine. And it's an introverted function. So my suspicion is kind of like introverted thinking accuracy and introverted feeling authenticity. It's kind of like, well, I'll do this because I personally feel like it's a good thing to do. But then if I get like stigmatized as like the fuddy-duddy, right? It's like, hey, I just did a bunch of stuff for you. I just drove your drunk ass home, metaphorically or literally. And then now you're going to call me a fuddy-duddy, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to have a reputation as somebody who's not fun. It's like, gosh, it must be nice to be you who gets away with everything. And then I get like this reputation for not being cool.
Were your taxes filed on time?
Right. Exactly.
Stop complaining.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm doing all these heavy lifts for you. And now I'm getting, sort of this, you're like now going to name call. And I think with the pattern that's coming up for me with the introverted functions is that it's kind of like I'm doing it from within. You didn't have to ask me. I don't necessarily have an assumption of ping back, but if I'm offering it willingly and then now you're slapping it out of my hand, like that's going to be deeply painful.
Well, because you're rejecting me, not just an action in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it's coming from the introverted part, I think it feels much more personal.
Yep.
What's being rejected.
Exactly. And I think with extroverted sensing or sensation, the function that's in the CAR model for SP and NJ types, I think, and particularly I see this with SP types, there's an assumption that they're going to bring the aliveness to a situation, right? That they're going to bring the energy. They're going to bring, like a sense of fun or party or just aliveness or just interesting, or they're going to be accommodating, or they're going to be up for anything, or they're going to be like, like I want to do this and you should just accommodate it, or you should suggest something interesting. And actually,
I do think this about extroverted thinking or extroverted sensing people in my life. Like you should be able to jump at a dime. Like, what do you got going on? You don't like, I don't consciously think that, but there's a lot of people in my family that have this, that I think I do assume that they shouldn't need a lot of prep time. They should be able to just join me with whatever idea I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now they may have given me that idea based on how they are, but that's interesting. I think that I never thought of that before.
Well, and Piper,
it's an assumption I have.
Yeah. Piper has ESFP preferences, and a version of this is that she recently had, she had an experience with a friend where her friend's like, what should we do? And Piper's like, well, we could do this. And her friend's like, I don't want to do that. And Piper's like, okay, well, we can do this. And she's like, I don't want to do that. And then Piper's like, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, I don't know. Just keep suggesting things. So there's like this, like Piper was supposed to bring the aliveness, and then she was supposed to be accommodating to anything that this friend wanted to do. Yeah. And so, like there's this assumption that you're going to bring aliveness, but you're not going to bring any demands or expectations with it. Yeah. You'll bring energy without any strings attached. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I suspect that's the labor of that people just kind of lean on extroverted sensing for.
Well, all of these could be expectations, but they are true too. It tends to be that people that have this as a preference do bring a lot of aliveness to situations. So it's not like it's a ill-conceived expectation or notion. It's just not every single person, and sometimes people can feel resentful of this.
Correct. So, exactly.
But these are assumptions and expectations for a reason.
Well, and I think like extroverted feeling and extroverted thinking, this is a function that needs a ping back. Yeah. And so if you're willing to bring aliveness, you're going to need aliveness back, right? You're going to bring you bring energy, so you're going to want some energy back, right? Yeah. Or at least appreciation for it, right? On the channel of being up for anything. And so that, I mean, I can almost see an argument between extroverted sensing and introverted sensing, right? Like I'm bringing aliveness. You should be bringing aliveness too. And introverted sensing is like, yeah, but I'm bringing responsibility, and I'm, hauling you around, and I'm letting you to go be the energy person. Yeah. I could just totally see, so this argument back and forth of bringing something to the situation and the other person not appreciating it or understanding it, right? This is a gift, and just taking advantage. And, and the point of all of this discussion is like, where are we offering labor that other people don't understand, and where are they offering labor that we don't understand what they're bringing, right? I think with the intuitive functions, did you have something to say?
No, I was going to say, let's talk about pattern recognition and jump into intuition.
I think with intuition, it probably is, for introverted intuition, I suspect that the labor is, it's forethought. It's thinking through everything. Right? Like not in a thought labor way like introverted thinking where you're looking for the truest thing. For introverted intuition, it's like thinking about everything that will be needed in the future. Does that make sense?
Well, I often will lean on introverted, intuitive people with perspectives to give me insight on how people make meaning from what I'm doing. Like, which meaning will they apply to the thing that I'm doing right now? Like, how do I interpret the meaning that will probably be assumed based on the action? That's usually what I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's usually in the realm of like marketing or framing something or messaging something. Like, how do you think this will land with people? And they're like, well, they're going to actually think it's this meaning. And I'm like, oh, I don't want that meaning, so I'll help shape that. And that's often where I lean on those kinds of people for that.
Yeah. By the way, this is for people who are NJ types, and also SPs have it in their car model. And yeah, it's like, I think that's one way. It's like, like help me think it through into the future. And it's actually an iteration probably a bit on thought labor. It's not quite thought labor. It's not quite like filleting it all out and looking at it and looking for its most true thing. The most inconvenient truth that lives underneath everything. It's kind of more like what are we going to need on this trip? Where are we going to go? Right? Do all the planning. Do all the future pacing. Do all the, not just making sure that we're like what should we be doing?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of how people usually lean on them, not just how I lean on them for the same thing. I'm like, help me think it through, help me strategize, help me understand, This is
one that's a little bit more invisible that maybe people don't lean on. So like, I'm thinking about Alana has INTJ preferences. She's one of our profiler training alumni. She's been in profiler training, some of the advanced classes. She was at our whiteboards and archetype event that we had framed around helping people figure out their mess and their message. Like, how are they going to take what they learned in profiler training and bring it to like an audience? And she had a really interesting business model, which came from her intuition, like her NI and perspective. She's like, companies do a lot of research when they purchase another company. Like, a company wants to buy another company, they'll do a lot of like metrics, like what are the sales and the market, like what's all the system set up in the financials.
You're not going to give away her business idea, are you?
Well, I mean, they'd have to come to profiler training to be able to do it, and
yeah,
she's true. She's trying to discover it too. Do you think
I don't know.
I'm giving away a business idea that is like so ripe that somebody's going to grab it and like take her business
Only
from her?
Only Alana's going to be able to do it.
I don't think it's going to conflict with her directly. I don't think the idea is the best part, because she's actually having trouble with this. That's the whole point.
Right.
So her idea is that you do an audit of your business before you do an audit of any business you're going to buy, but do you do a people audit? And she wants to take profiler training and go in and profile at least the executive team, but maybe even other teams of an acquisition, a company that you want to acquire. So you have deep human metrics in this company. I think it's a brilliant way to go about it. I don't think that's such a good business model. I don't think that the idea itself is the only, like, to harbor that idea. It's not like a code base. I think that the implementation of that is where all the value's stored.
Yeah. Well,
the idea there's not much value yet.
Somebody who's a hack might be able to sell it, but they certainly will not be able to. They'll have the
quality has to be there too.
They'll have to be a con man. Like, you have to really know what you're doing. Yeah. And Alana does. And so,
because you're going in and you're actually live profiling somebody. So Alana, if I spilled the beans and you're mad at me, let me know and I'll somehow make it up to you. But I don't think it's an idea that needs to be protected personally. Okay. And Alana, you can be mad at me if I'm spilling an idea you had, because I think it's a really good idea.
I think it's brilliant.
I think she's smart about it, but she's having some trouble because no one sees the value. This is the issue. This is why I don't think it's going to be stolen, and because the unlock is basically getting these people to see that there's value in knowing the people you're going to get along with the company as much as the company itself.
Right.
What if these people aren't a culture fit? And I'm sure there's certain things that you can do. I'm sure there's tests and things that some companies implement. Like an HR director is going to write in and say, oh, we have this thing that we'll do, blah, blah. But she's talking about going right in, like down to sitting across with the executive team, doing a full personality profiling session, helping them arrive at their best type, helping them understand what that is, doing consultation with them, and helping them understand the deepness of this company, right? Not just the financials, but the people systems. And I think that's a brilliant idea, but it's hidden. And a lot of people with perspectives, I think INJs are going to tell you this a lot, they don't value. So I think that the labor is not even seen, let alone valued.
Oh, that makes sense, actually.
Like, it's so hidden.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, look, I'm seeing this so clearly. It's right here. You got to know what people that are part of this company you're buying as much as the company.
Yeah.
How do you not see this? No, that's not valuable. Just show us the numbers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, so how do you convince somebody to see the labor that you would put into it?
Yeah.
She's got this insight and perspective that would help people make a much better decision.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's probably where the labor of that is just very frustrating.
And it's probably one of those things where how people are leaning on it, they're just totally blind to it. And then when somebody with this function presents something that's like a brilliant concept, it's probably very easy for them to be rejected.
I immediately got it. When I heard it, I was like, holy crap, that's what a great idea. And then she started trying to implement a little bit. And the executives at these companies aren't seeing it the way I saw it. I was like, whoa. They're like, oh, I don't know.
How could they not? What a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's something I just want to offer that I think it's pretty hidden.
I think so too.
What about extroverted intuition or exploration?
I think probably both the intuitive functions are similar. Whether or not people get it is probably a big part of it. And so in the same way that extroverted sensing is expected to bring the aliveness, I think extroverted intuition is expected to bring
the ideas.
The ideas. You know, the thing I mentioned before with Piper, it's like, you know, her friend was like, no, I don't want to do that. What else? It's like, actually extroverted intuition would probably kept offering. And be like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? What about this? And there's, I think there's also a sense that you're supposed to bring a, well, if the person even sees it, because it's also easy to be rejected as like not grounded, not practical, not what's supposed to be offered.
We want all your ideas until they get too weird or too abstract, and then you're up in the clouds. Bring it back down to earth.
But
so
I think
it's like this real narrow channel you have to run, that the ideas have to be just good enough to be implementable, that are acceptable, but not too weird. And so it's not really a blue sky creative brainstorm. It's kind of like you can ask any question as long as you come back to these answers over here with a really creative idea on how to do them.
Yep.
So it feels maybe hemmed in and limited often.
Yeah, well, and I think also, at least I'm trying to go back to my own personal experience, which I always get really cagey around because I'm like, well, that just might be my experience. But I have had the situation when I worked for other people that the first time a boss of mine saw me pull a rabbit out of a hat, it was like, okay, you need to bring that. Like what in a pitch, in talking in front of other people, in trying to, to be liaison for, like trying to get an employee basically to persuade them into something. I think once an employee or an employer of mine or a boss of mine or a manager or a leader or whatever saw what I'm capable of, there was a lot of expectation that he could just, or she could just throw me into a situation and I would just perform. And so I'm not sure if other ENPs have had that experience. I'm a little hesitant to say how I think they're, and how
I bet it's common.
How this function is asked to do labor, but there's like a, there's like a turn on a dime or perform on a dime, come up with great ideas. And I think extroverted intuition also needs the ping back. It needs to be fed. It needs to have freedom in order to be fed. And I think when you're that kind of person, it's easier to negotiate your way into a situation where you have the kind of freedom that you're looking for in order to do your best work, in order to do that kind of, sort of carbonate an idea labor. But sometimes the expectation is that you'll bring that, but you have to do it in a sterile environment. You have to do it without any ping back. You have to do it all by yourself. And it doesn't work alone. It works in tandem. It's an extroverted function. It needs to have something to feed off of. And so that's probably one of the ways that that function brings labor to a situation. And if it's not given the resources it needs, like the ability to brainstorm, the ability to think outside the box, the ability to do all these things, right? Enough new contexts and situations and learning opportunities. Like if it's not given enough of that, then it's like, well, what do you can't get blood out of a rock, right? It's like I need all these other things. But if it is able to be set up with that, then it'll just keep going and chugging and chugging and chugging. So yeah, I'm curious about other people's experiences leading with this function.
Yeah, I think the perceiving functions, both sensing and intuition, are a little bit harder to. Probably the sensing a little bit easier. The intuition gets a little first of all, it's invisible often. Mm-hmm. It's not valued, or it's valued in a very particular channel. There's a bunch of other things running with it because it's so weird and abstract sometimes, and you're seeing stuff that other people aren't seeing, so they're not even. But that's kind of the nature of this. The whole point of the premise was you're doing something that's on somebody else's behalf, because the emotional labor is not being seen either.
Right.
The cognitive labor is not being seen either.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's not just that people expect this of us. That the part of the pain in all this labor that we do, that we're good at doing based on whatever we're wired for.
Yeah.
The pain of it is often it's not even seen. It's not even recognized.
Yeah.
Let alone valued or have gratitude returned.
Yeah.
People don't even know we're doing it, let alone say thank you.
Yeah.
That I think is the biggest key, is to realize that everybody's got one of these. Everybody does. It's not just you that's experiencing what your suffering is. We all are suffering around one of our own versions of this. All humans have this. It's just a matter of which flavor is it? Which one are you dealing with?
Yeah. Yeah. And what I think now that we've talked about all of them, I think with the extroverted functions, it's a matter of like, I'm sending energy out and I need energy back in order for this to keep going. Right? Whether it's an extroverted perceiving function, like extroverted sensing sensation or extroverted intuition, exploration. It's like, I need freedom and I need energy and I need something to feed this. Like this just can't keep generating its own energy.
Interfacing.
I need interfacing in some form. I need a sense of freedom, whatever that means. So if you cage me in too much, I will, or if you just are dead, if you're a dead wire on the other side, I will not be able to continue to bring what you want me to bring. And so you can ask for it of me, but if I'm bringing the party in the aliveness and I show up and like everybody's like a wet blanket, what do you want me to do? Right? I can't work with anything here. And so, recognizing that people are, when people ask something of you, it's totally appropriate that you ask for something back, right? And then the extroverted judging functions of extroverted feeling harmony or extroverted thinking effectiveness, it's like there is a value exchange piece here. And if I'm not getting it on a specific channel, it doesn't mean that I'm not, it doesn't mean that I'm not an altruistic person. It doesn't mean that, like I'm selfish. It means that like there's a labor here and I'm going to need to get a little bit back there as well. Right. It's, it's like, I'm going to need connection. I'm going to need rapport. I'm going to need gratitude. I'm going to need, to be able to call in a favor someday. I'm going to need ROI on my time and life force. Right. Like that's fair. Right. It's not a bad person that asks for something in return. It's just fair. It's just don't mix. I think one of the pieces is don't mix up the channels. Like, for example, if you're an extroverted thinking or effectiveness person and you're expected to do extroverted feeling or harmony, I mean, you're not, like, don't ask for money, right? Because that's not that channel. That channel is not the channel of money. It's the channel of connection, and vice versa. It's like, if you're an extroverted feeling person asked to do extroverted thinking, I mean, I think of Peggy. Like you brought up Mad Men before. Remember that scene with Peggy and Dawn? Where she's like, I do all this stuff for you. She works for him. He's an INTJ. She's
complaining about emotional labor.
That's
half
right.
The time. Yeah.
She's probably an INFJ and he's probably an INTJ. Don't argue with me on this one on the internet. I don't care. But anyway, that's what it looked like to me as I was watching the series. And at one point she's like, I do all this work for you and I help you out in all these ways and you never say thank you. And he's like, that's what the money's for. Like, I don't understand what you want. So, it's like you kind of have to understand what channel you're working with and then to meet the person halfway, right? And to go, they're on this channel, so I'm going to give them this kind of feedback, and they're on this channel, so I'll give them this kind of feedback. And I think with the introverted functions, it seems like it's more like I'm pulling something within the self, and I don't mind doing this labor, but I'm going to need it to not be rejected. Yeah. Because it's coming from within. And there might not really be anything you can do to feed it other than receive it well, right? Receive it and understand that it came from within and to not knock it out of the person's hand. That's like the most important thing you can do is to like receive it and see it. Yeah. Right? Just like see it and honor it for what it is. So, and I'm sure we've probably hit the hour mark or whatever, but just to go over to the other side, which is which one feels the worst when you're not getting a return. Yeah. And I would say they probably all hurt. They probably all hurt. The higher up a function is, the longer we can give it. But it's still going to hurt if it's rejected. It's still going to hurt if there's no return on it. Yeah. And then I would say fillet out how you feel when you give this labor and how you feel when people reject it and how you feel when there's no return. Yeah. And then just recognize that everybody feels that way on some level. That tracks. I've given a lot of introverted sensing memory. So that's my 4th or 3-year-old function in the car model. It's my inferior. And it's really hard to track details and keep things tidy and organized on a long timeline.
And I've been the vanguard of that in our company for a lot of things, whether it's paying bills, taxes, paperwork, the way we name our files, folders, organizing. It's exhausting. I hate it. I don't like it, but I don't want it not to be done. So I'm willing to try to do it. But man, am I resentful when no one gives gratitude for it, or when they don't see that I've been, or they act cavalier around something that would harm that system. Like, oh, it doesn't matter what we name that file. Just name it whatever. I'm like, what? It's like so hard for me to track and do this. I almost get furious with somebody when they dismiss it.
Right.
Because it's such a hard lift. When I add value there, or I try to labor there, I want it to be recognized. I certainly don't want it to be diminished or pushed away or argued with.
Or sabotaged.
And I would appreciate gratitude and recognition for it.
Yeah.
And it's deeply painful when those don't happen because it's so difficult. I don't want to be doing this anyway in the first place.
Yeah.
But I'm willing, and so now you're making it harder on me on something I'm willing to do, but I don't like doing. And I think everybody's got a version of that, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Everybody feels that way probably in their inferior when they struggle to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it gets diminished or pushed away or disrespected.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this gave some language for some people.
Yeah.
For some folks. It's like, how do you solve it? Well, the first thing is being able to accurately diagnose what's going on, and then to be able to put language to it so that you can have like a conversation with the person who might be unintentionally doing this. And of course, every conversation where you start with, and you're doing this to me, usually ends up as one would expect. But if you go, I think I realized a thing about me.
I'm experiencing it this way.
Yeah.
That could be helpful.
I think I realized that I'm doing a thing, and I kind of feel sometimes like nobody's seeing it, or I'm doing a thing, and I think I would feel, like I would feel honored or cherished or loved, or seen, like in a business context, or like I think I would probably be able to, give more of my best self.
Yep.
If I got this in return, right? Or if I was seen for this or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's a totally appropriate takeaway. And then, of course, as always, how can you do it back to somebody else in your life? Somebody that you love, somebody who you want to be able to see all the gifts that they're bringing, and maybe even ask them. And the challenge, of course, with asking people in your life how they experience the same thing is if they're not into type, they don't have language. So oftentimes,
you just notice, you just watch.
But you can notice and watch.
Watch what they're trying to send. I mean, love languages can help with this too. Like kind of see how they're trying to send love and be like, I think that's a channel over here. And you could do some tests even if they don't have language for it.
Yep.
I really want to hear from you too, both myself and Antonia. If you're watching or listening right now, what's going on in your life around this? Do you have one of these channels that feels more painful than the others as far as what you feel you have to labor on other people's behalf? Is it unseen? Is it unrecognized? Is it disrespected? Is it marginalized? Is it crapped on? Do you get gratitude for it? Do people see it? Do you have a partner or family or friends or coworkers or a boss that does recognize what you're putting in?
Yeah.
And you feel really good about it because you get to be in the dynamic where you're able to show your best self in a whatever labor you put into something. We want to hear from you in the comments, not just your best fit type, but also a little story around how this shows up for you. I want to get a discussion going around this. And I think this is really valuable for your voice to be part of this conversation, not just the two of us, but I want you to have a say in this too, how this is showing up for you.
Yeah.
That's the point of why we record these. All right. Well, and the other thing I want to recommend too, if you want to get more about get deeper into your personality type, we have an owner's manual for all of the 16 personality types. They're really good. We keep expanding them and adding more to them. You got to check these out. It's really great about living a life that is in flow, that's ergonomically designed for you. It talks about some of the things that you're really uncertain about, maybe parts of yourself that are more childlike that tend to mess you up if you're not looking at them. And then there's a part of you that's a translator, and it's the part that helps some of the more certain parts talk to the more uncertain parts. And we focus in on the owner's manual on that. And man, we've seen client after client, student after student, person after person change their life for the better by tuning into that translator part. And everybody's got a different one based on your personality. So come over to Personality Hacker, get an owner's manual, and start working on that part of you that's the translator between the certain parts and uncertain parts, and watch your life change in front of you. It's powerful stuff, and I want you to be part of it. So come over to personalityhacker.com and also make your voice heard under this episode. I'm Joel Markwitt.
I'm Antonia Dodge.
And we'll talk with you on the next Personality Hacker podcast.